So we have arrived at the final week of Lent. So we are now in the 5th week of Lent. And as I mentioned in the sermon last week, the Holy Fathers of the Church have taken us through God's love, the consequences of a life not lived in the Christian virtue, of His compassion towards us, and then of the importance of the services of the Great Lent that we are in. And so now here we are at the end. And what is this final lesson? This final lesson is the life of Mary of Egypt. And it seems as a faraway thing. It seems that this doesn't have anything to do with who we are, because we are not going to be like Mary. Most of us, probably the vast majority of us, are not going to go into the desert for the next 40 years and not change our clothes and only receive communion once. So most of us are not going to do that. So then what is it that St. Mary of Egypt is going to teach us that the Holy Fathers place her here at the end of Lent? So we look at her life. When I was young, all right, we like many other families, practiced our fasting during Holy Week, right? But Lent was really not a time for fasting. It wasn't necessarily part. I mean, we had the Wednesday and the Friday, and we did that, all right? But I didn't really understand the concept of why do I need to fast for 40 days? Because I'm certainly not Mary of Egypt. So what's the benefit there? What am I going to get from that? I can do a few days in Holy Week and it'll be fine. But when I got older, then I heard some really bad advice. And that advice was, if you fast, then that shows the strength that you have so that you are worthy to approach God. So the fasting is what makes us strong so that we can approach God. Well, that's probably the stupidest advice I ever got. Because our own school, Holy Cross, tells us what? So, is Lent some sort of neatly arranged obstacle course set up for us so that we can tackle it without effort and then feel good about ourselves and full of smug complacency about our newfound spiritual state? And Holy Cross's answer is no, this is not the reason that we fast and we undergo this so that we can have some false sense of worthiness that we've done something great. Instead, and now we come to the lesson of St. Mary of Egypt, because most of us, including myself, oftentimes, and I'm quoting again from Holy Cross, we fail miserably in Lent, not overcoming our passions or making spiritual progress, but on the contrary, we grow worse, more irritable, more indifferent, and more susceptible to our passions, and that we feel that we have failed utterly. This is the reality of what the Great Fast is, because very, very few of us can emerge victorious from the Great Fast. But what happens, like myself, mistakes happen, McDonald's tempts us, and we end up now thinking the fast is gone. What have I accomplished? Have I become spiritually better? If we say yes, then we're lying to ourselves. And the lesson of St. John Climacus tells us that. And so this is the lesson of St. Mary of Egypt. Here is now a woman who was in great sin, but through her strength and through the help of God, not through her own efforts, recognizing her own failures in repentance, turns to God. And this is that great lesson to show us that when we try to accomplish something spiritual from our own efforts, then we are doomed to failure. And this is the satanic trap that we fall into because mistakes happen and we feel that we're not worthy to stand up again, and so Lent disappears, or we don't feel that we've made spiritual progress. The mere fact that we recognize that we have failed is victory in of itself, because through that is why Mary of Egypt came to her repentance. And that is the lesson then she gives us. Because our faith is not some type of intellectual exercise where by going through fasting, our minds become clearer. Mine certainly doesn't. And we become this clear thinking person that says, now I know what I need to do to please God. No, it is a very difficult thing to overcome a year's full of neglect. That's the second lesson we have from the mother of Egypt, from St. Mary, is because it is her living faith, her belief that she alone cannot overcome her passions and her weaknesses, but that it comes through the strength of her faith, not some intellectual exercise. And and we heard this last week, what is impossible for men, we realize through Great Lent is possible through God. And so the Holy Fathers purposely place St. Mary of Egypt, knowing full well that we have failed in our attempts to hold the great fast. But they say, this is not what the object of Great Lent is. The object of Great Lent is to realize that we cannot overcome our weaknesses on our own. And it is St. Mary of Egypt that offers us that lesson. And again, closing from Holy Cross. Faith initiated Mary's repentance. Faith preserved her in repentance. Faith led her to perfection in faith. And this now is what makes her a saint. Because Mary believed that, as St. Paul said in Hebrews, we are all children that belong to God.